Reading the warning labels on the instrument is a good idea. That applies to anything because they're warning you about potential hazards, which might lurk inside the enclosure or even outside the enclosure. But before we take it apart, we'll read the warning label, and we'll also put on our safety glasses. That way, in case anything flies out, we'll be safe. We'll remove any jewelry. You don't want metal jewelry connected to you when you're working around electricity, because if the electricity connects to that by a wire, then it's going to electrocute you a lot easier than it would if it was just a bare wire with no metal jewelry. So now that we have everything disconnected, power's off, we read the warnings, we're safe, it's time to do the fun part, which is disassemble the product. So you notice around the enclosure, the metal chassis, there's some Phillips screws. There's some on this side also. And it appears that the chassis, or the cover to the chassis, is kind of like a hood that goes around it. So we're going to try to unscrew all the screws that'll hold that hood on. You'll notice that the screws are Phillips screws that are holding the cover on. So when choosing a screwdriver, you want to choose the proper one. So Phillips screwdrivers usually have numbers as their classification. So you can see this is a number 2 Phillips screwdriver. There's a fairly large screw head on it. And then a number 1 Phillips screwdriver is smaller. And then we have a 0 screwdriver, which is even smaller over here. And what might happen is you might grab the 0 screwdriver, try to put it in, and be like, well, it fits. But what's going to happen is the screwdriver is so small that it's going to strip the screwdriver because it's not going to properly engage with the head of the screw. So same thing, the number 1 screwdriver will also work in there, but it's a little bit loose. You can see it kind of wiggles back and forth a little bit. So then we'll try the number 2 screwdriver, and that one fits really snug. I can't wiggle that around at all. So that's the proper screwdriver for the application. And if I choose the proper screwdriver, it's a good chance that the screw will come out very easily. Taking it out, winding it, and there we go. So we got one screw out, now we'll continue on to the rest. Using our number 2 screwdriver, we successfully removed all the screws from the instrument, and they're all down here on the table. So notice all the screws that hold the cover on are the same exact size. So that's very useful during manufacturing because you only need one tool to open it up. And it's also useful because if you're ordering all the parts for this project, you only need to order one type of screw. So these screws right here that hold on the carrying strap are slightly different. So maybe, if the manufacturer could use the same screws for all, that would even be an improvement. But anyway, we have our cover off. Now it's time to open up the instrument. So we have our instrument sitting right here, and we can lift off the cover. So as we were saying before, it's a metal cover, and a lot of times you just have to kind of pry it to the side and pull it out, and look at that. Now we can see inside the instrument.